Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today, we are joined by one of Bravo's newest and most beloved cast members on the new hit show, Southern Charm, Olivia Flowers. Olivia became well known after joining Southern Charm's cast in 2022 before season 8 of the show. However, prior to that, Olivia actually started out in a career working behind the scenes of Hollywood as a production assistant for various TV shows and shorts. Olivia has made the most of her time on the show, becoming a fan favorite in such a short period of time, too. However, it has not been easy after having gone through a very public breakup and the unexpected loss of her brother earlier this year while filming. Today, we're going to learn about life in front of the camera, life behind the camera, and the ways she's been able to handle heartbreak and loss over the year and bounce back while in the public eye. Olivia, thank you so much for being on Trading Secrets.
Well, thank you. Can you write my Wikipedia page? I love that.
Yeah, right. We're going to have to rewrite the Wikipedia page and get this going. I mean, it's when I think about your last year and a half, I wrote a book called The Restart Roadmap. And when I think about your last year and a half, that's what it feels like. Like you have had triumph and tragedy, and it's happened in such a short period of time. And I think I want that to be the theme of this episode, because typically we have someone on, and it might have been like a 5-10 year career where they had all these bumps and changes. I mean, it was how many years ago that you were a production assistant?
2.
So 2 years ago. And now fast forward 2 years later, you're the Bravo hit star. You're all over the place. You're at parties with the Vanderpump people. You're the next it person. That's a short period of time. Like, how are you doing? How are you feeling with all of this massive change?
I mean, it's honestly been a blast. Like, that's the first thing people ask me. Like, do you like it? Are you enjoying it? It's been so much fun. And because I've always been interested in the entertainment industry, even being on a different avenue of it, I've really enjoyed it, and getting to like get to know my castmates and like the trips and stuff we go on. And then it's been all positive interactions with like fans and stuff like that. You know, we just had BravoCon, and that's really where you get to like see the fan and like all the love. And so I've enjoyed it.
I'm sure you've experienced some people on the streets or the bar stopping you for a picture, but BravoCon, did that hit you like a tidal wave? Like, what the hell has happened in my life?
100%. I would like just step out of the room to go to the bathroom, like not thinking anything, and there would be just like a crowd, and they'd be like, "Wait, you have to come back in here." And I was like, "That's not for me. That's not for me." And it wasn't. It was for Craig, but I tagged along.
I'm sure it was for you. We'll rewind of your career before the show, but I want to step into this for a minute. I mean, I just think about a lot of people from The Bachelor, Bachelorette, some people that we even manage, and they get off the show, and, you know, a lot of them think they're the next like Taylor Swift, George Clooney. I feel like with you, I don't feel that like that at all. Has this whole popularity, anything changed your perspective, or have you had anybody say to you like, Olivia, let's bring you back down to earth? Like, do you feel any of that? Like, does this new wave had any impact on you think?
My dad always says that to me, like, let's bring you back down to earth, in a way of like joking. But I can't say that I've had any, I mean, hopefully I haven't had any big-headed moments, but
Good for you.
I mean, the night is young. It could happen soon. My makeup artist over there, like, yeah, sure.
Like, yeah, you're full-blown diva. I mean, she walks in, she's got a makeup artist, a stylist.
Seriously. I'm like, guys, go around the corner. Don't let me look like a diva.
I should have had you guys dress me. All right, well, let's get back into what you're doing before the show. So I saw in an interview that you moved to LA, and your dream was to be an actress. And one of the big things you said is you thought you'd be able to be in the next Hunger Game, but you underestimated the process. Those were your words. But I'm thinking about this. I think a lot of people back home would have no idea if someone actually, you hear the pipe dream. I'm going to move to LA and become an actor, actress. It's a big pipe dream. No one understands the process. So when you say you underestimated it, what was the process that you underestimated? Like, what does that actually look like to become an actress in LA?
Well, for me, it was like getting there, then you're instantly surrounded by, you know, thousands, however many people that want the same thing as you.
Yeah.
And so that was like an immediate pump the brakes. Like you're not just like coming in here, you're not just gonna like get an audition. Like you have to get like your representation. You have to get classes. I just think I had this very romanticized idea of it because I've just always loved the entertainment industry. And, you know, my parents were very stern on like finishing college. And then when you do that, you can go.
Yeah.
And I was so fortunate to have supportive parents and like supporting this pipe dream. But it was very eye-opening getting there and being around so many hardworking, hustling people who knew the industry inside and out. And like,
Yeah.
I wasn't there yet.
It's interesting. Like you could be like a big fish in the pond that you live in. And then you go to LA and you're like, holy
You're a
shit.
tadpole.
Every single person here's a stud. Everyone's well-spoken. Everyone's well-dressed. And you're just caught in the mix of it. We talk money on this podcast. Did your parents or did yourself, did you save a certain dollar amount? Or did your parents say, we'll support you for a certain period of time until we're pulling the rug underneath you? Like, how did the money situation work when you said, I'm going to give my dream a shot?
It was, like I said, I was very fortunate. They were very supportive, and the deal was like finishing college, but I did have to work while I was out there. They were going to support me and help me get on my feet, but I had to be working while I was out there.
Okay, so what did you do career-wise?
I was a production assistant.
Okay.
On this show it's a scripted show called The Colony. It was on USA, and it was on the Paramount lot. And I mean, I'm at the bottom of the barrel.
Production assistant's kind of like a handler, right? Like you're running errands and stuff.
Yes, like getting coffee and first one there, last one to leave. No one really knows your name, but like I loved it. Like I loved the whole experience. I was probably the worst production assistant because I was so obsessed with like watching, Video Village. I was like behind the director, like watching them do the thing, and then there'd be like a mess behind me, and I wasn't helping at all, but I learned so much doing that.
Yeah.
And I would have honestly like stayed with that as long as I made nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna ask a production assistant. I'm gonna take a shot. $20 an hour?
I'd probably say like 15.
And it's an hourly rate, right? Okay. So when you're a production assistant, the goal was never to like work your way up that career ladder. This was just a stepping stone to have cash inflow so you could pursue your pursuits the way you wanted to, correct?
Yeah, I would say. And I was just like fortunate to I got the job from like a friend of my dad's who worked on the show.
Yeah.
So I was even lucky to have that. Like I don't even think that's something you could just find. It was very much a connection. But I loved it.
Okay, how about this? Let's get one tip because people are listening to this right now and they're trying to shortcut their careers. They're trying to be the person that's a production assistant, and within 2 years, they have an army of production assistants working for them. That's what you did. We're going to still step into your career before the show, but one piece of advice for someone out there that's in that role where it's $15, $20 an hour or whatever it may be, that they're grinding. They know it's not the end all be all, but they're trying to shortcut to get where they want to go. What's one piece of advice you give them?
To soak it up. Like you're in there, that's where your time and energy is going. And even though it's not exactly, the end goal, like just absorb everything, learn everything so that when the ball does get rolling, you're in front of it and you know what you want to do and just enjoy it.
I like it. Enjoy the ride, get ahead of it, and just keep grinding. Did you have any auditions as an actress while you were a production assistant? And what did those look like if you did?
I didn't have any while I was a production assistant. I actually moved to Atlanta like a few years later because that's a huge place for filming. So speaking of like big fish, small pond, that was a lot easier. And I got a lot of auditions there. And it's kind of like, LA, you can like stay, grind, and try to get those bigger roles. Or, Atlanta's going to pull like, I auditioned like waitress or I got a stripper audition one time for Ozark.
No way.
I came in, she didn't have a name, it was just stripper. And I was like, okay.
Was that the strip club they owned in Ozark?
Yeah.
No way.
So,
oh wait, hang on, we can't stop there. So you get this audition. Do you actually have to like strip in the audition?
No, I didn't have to. I didn't have to do anything like that. Luckily it was like it was cool. It was a conversation I was having with is it Julie Garner?
Okay. Well, that's
Ruth.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
she
that
was
was
a hero.
Yeah,
and
100%.
a boss.
And she, that was like her first big one too.
Yeah,
like
that brought her to like it. Now she's doing Nespresso commercials with George Clooney.
Oh, that's
she's
right.
killing it.
There's a bunch of people on that commercial.
So what was she like in person?
Well, I didn't get meet her. Sorry. It was just the audition was for the scene with her. Okay. I didn't actually get it.
Okay.
I would have made like a shirt that said that or something.
That'd be unbelievable if you got that.
I know. Hey, Mom, Dad, I'm a
Look
stripper.
what I did. I'm a stripper. Okay. So for auditions, though, of course, you don't get paid for those, right? You're just trying to land the audition.
Mm-hmm.
How many hours in advance do you have to practice for an audition?
You really don't get that much time. They want it back within 2-3 days.
Okay.
So you get it. And the earlier you get it in, I learned, the better, because when they find the person they want, that's where they stop. They don't
Okay.
like go through all of it. At least from my experience, this is like what I learned working in it. But they, especially for those smaller roles, you know, they're not
Yeah.
going to sit there and wait to the last day, last minute to get the auditions. They're going to pick what they see when they see it.
Okay. And then how does an audition come to your front door? Is it through an agent?
Yeah, it's through an agent.
Okay.
And that was the double-edged sword, because in order to get an agent, they want to see that you have a resume. But in order to build that resume, you need an agent.
experience.
Yeah. So that was tricky.
Okay. So then you finally land an opportunity in a movie. What does that look like? Or a scripted show? What does that look like? How much do they pay? What's the time commitment? Tell me about that job.
Wait, the production assistant job?
No, didn't you land a side role as an actress in one of these
In like a,
scripted show?
I'm trying. Oh,
Were you
no,
ever
see,
an
that's-
actress?
Clearly not. I
Has
have to
this
sit there and
dream become a reality in any context? A stripper, a cashier, a waitress, anything.
So that was like an indie thing, and I found that through this website called Backstage, which
Okay.
is a lot of like low budget
Yeah.
or student films even. And I knew that's kind of where I had to start because I didn't have reps. So I was like, I got to put myself on tape. And I genuinely feel like I wasn't good, and I didn't have the love and passion for it to like stick it out. But
Okay.
I, again, just knew I wanted to be in the industry. And I think I thought acting was like my way in.
Yeah.
And then when I started working as an assistant for an acting coach out in LA, and I got to help her on the back end with like casting tapes, and she would be hired by productions to come coach the actors who have already booked the job, like on set coaching.
Okay.
And so I got to be a part of like the casting process and like editing. And that's when I realized like, oh, it's behind the camera that I want to do.
Interesting. Okay. So
Mhm.
production assistant to then going to do some acting and auditioning yourself
Uh-huh.
to then becoming an assistant to an acting coach, essentially.
Yep.
Assistant to an acting coach, same type of pay, like $20
Yeah.
an hour type vibe.
Like nothing.
Okay. I took one acting class in my life, and it was one of the most fascinating experiences.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, there was one scene where the woman was getting prepared for it, and she had to come in yelling at her husband. But before she went in, she asked the like students if she could scream. It was the loudest bloody murder scream I had ever heard in my entire life. This was preparation to go in.
To go in.
So then, wait, because like apparently that wasn't enough. So the coach goes behind, and I was in the last row. He whispers something to her, and all of a sudden she starts bawling her eyes out. And he said something about an ex. And then she went into the scene, burst the door open, and I had goosebumps at how good she was.
Really?
And I was blown away that type of depth and thinking goes into the whole entire process of acting. When you were with the coach, were there any tips or tricks or stories that you learned about the whole idea of acting that maybe people back home listening to this right now can take into their life, or that you've taken into your new world?
I learned with her and watching her coaching, it is so much just applying like your real experiences, your real feelings into that moment. Like I think that was like the big misconception. You know, you get the script and like people want to like memorize or like
Yeah.
get the lines down. And I learned like she just taught how to bring in like the raw emotion, and then like the words were just vehicles to get you from like one scene to the next. And so I saw a lot of what you just talked about,
Yeah.
like working with her, like her bringing up people's like personal things right there on set just to get them there. So
Yeah.
I mean, that was like an experience in itself. But as far as like using it today, I mean, authenticity, like that's what acting
Yeah.
is, just like aligning it as much as you can with your true self and your true feelings in that moment.
Yeah.
And so I would say with what I do now, it's that. It's just like trying to stay completely true to how you're feeling and being able to like communicate those emotions and feelings clearly and staying consistent with that. I don't
No,
know.
I think that makes a lot of sense, because in a short period of time, you have captivated the audience in like an unbelievable way, and you've built this quick momentum. And I think that has a lot to probably just being yourself and being able to communicate it. And maybe it was like acting that helped you do that. In the Bachelor world, what's interesting is when someone has any type of history or education in acting, they get absolutely chastised and criticized. And so they're told like they're faking it, those tears aren't real, they're just acting. Being in the reality space now, have you had to deal with any of the people being like, your prior life was an actress? We have to question the authenticity. Have you had to step into that or no?
I have with one castmate. That's always like his go-to dig. It's like you were an actress. And I remember like when we were filming one time yelling at each other and he was like, you were an actress, like you wanted to do this. And I'm like, we all said yes to the same thing. We're all here, you know? So
Yeah.
I think it's so easy to do that. But to me, acting is just like a social like experiment. It just teaches you how to be quick on your feet. It teaches you how to control your emotions. It teaches you how to not be impulsive in moments when you might be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but as far as like faking the emotions, no, like I would be doing much better job acting like I liked him if that were the case.
Yeah,
So
I
not
love
acting.
that. I think like the hypocrisy in people who are on set of a reality TV show calling someone else like, oh, you're just here for the fame or for the camera. Shut the fuck up. There's cameras everywhere. We are on one of the largest networks in the world. Look in the mirror,
I
right?
know.
That's
right.
just a ridiculous conundrum.
Yeah.
Acting in reality TV. So especially when I got off reality TV, it was always a thing that if you came from reality TV, getting into the world and the career of acting was next to impossible. You kind of did it reverse. You went from acting to reality TV, unscripted. Was there any hesitation to get into unscripted knowing that the ladder back into acting becomes extremely challenging?
Yes, that's so funny you just asked that because I was just talking about it before I got here. That was a huge part of it. I was fortunate enough to have time to like think over wanting to move forward with the show.
Mhm.
And like I know some castmates who got their contract like literally the next week after talking to them, and I had months. So I really got to sit and think about it. And luckily for me, I had figured out that I wanted to do behind the camera stuff, and I didn't think the reality part. If anything, I was more looking forward to it because I would get to be on a set. It wasn't
Yeah.
exactly the set I thought, but it's still a set nonetheless, and it's still the same language and the same, you know, commotion. So I was excited for it in that way, but there was definitely a hesitation to completely shut that door, which is another reason why when people say like, "Oh, you're an actor," like you wanted this. I'm like, if you knew anything about acting, you would know what I'm doing right now just completely took away my chances of actually making it as a scripted actor. You
Right.
know, like
it actually
so
totally deters you from that chance.
yes.
Yeah. And even something as dumb as me being like, I took an acting class, one acting class, that could be misconstrued in like unscripted TV goodbye. Like that's how crazy this world is.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating.
But y'all
Now-
have it. It's like more nerve wracking for y'all because you only on it for, you know, a short period of time. So it's like anything you say, you might not have the time to like further explain it. So if
Yeah.
someone says like, yeah, I was an actor, and then that's all like they get from that time, I
Mhm.
feel like then you get judged. And then I at least can say I have like scene after scene to where I can like further explain myself.
Totally.
So I've always admired y'all for how you handle that.
So you're acting, you're grinding, production assistant, coaching, acting assistant, trying to break into the world. And Southern Charm comes knocking on your door. Of course, you have ties to Charleston.
Mhm.
But what was the first interaction that Southern Charm came your way?
So Leva, my castmate, her and her husband are family friends of ours. My dad invests in their restaurants. And so we've known them forever. And she called me while I was in LA and was just like, and it was actually right before COVID. So she had kind of told me that they were looking. She was like, I just think I'm going to put your name in because they're kind of looking for new faces. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And then COVID hit. So then I went back home, spent COVID in Charleston with my whole family. And then she and I met up and she was like, yeah, I gave them your name. They're interested. And then it would go silent for a really long time. And then all of a sudden I would get a call. Like it was very, very gradual. And I'm
Okay.
grateful for that because I did get to kind of like marinate in the idea.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that she brought me on. And I had known some of the cast a little bit before. My brother knew them all too. So he kind of bridged that gap for me as well. And I think like that there's a bit of a misconception with people thinking I was brought on because I dated Austin. Like
Yeah.
I was brought on, and I'm like, I take pride in the fact that I'm one of the few girls who didn't come on there as anyone's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I was like, I went through the casting process. Like I didn't. So just to clear the air on that.
Is there anyone in your circle that didn't want you to do the show or that suggested you shouldn't do it?
Honestly, no, because everyone in my circle knows what I was wanting to do, what I was wanting to be a part of,
Yeah.
and they saw this as like a really exciting opportunity, and we're all very behind me with it, which was really nice.
Okay, cool. All right, let me ask you about this. So, obviously there's monetization through the show, and then you're paid per episode. How many episodes per season are there?
We honestly don't find that out until like as it goes, but I
Okay.
mean, I think 12. I think there's like a minimum that we're supposed to hit.
Okay. So let's suppose it's 12. Do the math based on conversations we've had. People, you can back into some numbers without you getting in trouble. On a other revenue driving stream, are there other things right now that you've been able to do to monetize everything that's happened, whether it's social media marketing, creating your own brand, anything from a business perspective that you've done or that's on the radar for driving more revenue in the door?
There's certainly things on the radar. I'm very, very like passionate about things. The thing is, you get this big platform like literally overnight, and your following goes up overnight, and it's just kind of like I've always had these ideas of like what I want to do, and now all of a sudden it's like you have the opportunity, like you have the platform, but there's no like manual on how to go about it. You know what I mean? Like,
out there.
and like you're a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Like you figured it out and are doing it well. Like I'm very much in that stage where I'm very passionate about things, and I do want to expand on things like as far as my brand, whether it's like health and wellness or like sports. I would love to see like a girl on Bravo interested in sports or something. You know what I mean?
Cool.
Like, so I have all these
Like sideline reporting stuff?
Yeah, or like
Okay.
do like a sports podcast, or I don't know. So I have all these ideas and things that I want to do. I just need to hone in on like what the next steps are. And this past season, my stylist actually suggested like, why don't you show that side of you, like in your scenes, have on your athletic wear, like asked to play tennis. Like Shep and I played tennis this season, and just kind of like start planting the seeds so that when that time comes that I do want to produce something more tangible on brand, that I've already kind of like leaned into that and like shown that. So it's not like people are like, oh, what? She wants to do like athleisure. Like she doesn't, you know what I mean? Like kind of start.
You're starting to like build like step by step, build that niche. So if you look at like Kyle Cook, right? He's got Loverboy. Craig's got Sewing Down South. Paige, obviously big in the fashion space. Think of it, Hannah Burner, now comedian. So if you had to project what it looked like in 5 years, like your niche, do you think that's what it is, like sports, athleisure, or what do you think it looks like career-wise?
Yeah, it would be sports, athleisure, wellness. I'm gluten-free.
Okay.
It's like celiac runs in my family, so that was something I brought on the show. There's like every single time we're eating, I'm like, is that gluten-free? Like I would love to have that niche of like health, wellness, and I love sports.
I love that. What has been the biggest challenge in social media? The biggest thing that you've had to overcome now having a platform, trying to navigate these waters?
I'd say overthinking. Like really overthinking. Instead of just like let it be fluid, post and go, I second, third, fourth, fifth guess before like putting anything up. And I was never like that before. And now I'm just like, I can get a little bit more hesitant.
Why do you think that is? Is it the fear of like what people think, or is it now that you see both sides of criticism and reward that you're just trying to avoid the criticism? Like, and this is, by the way, something I really struggle with.
Yeah.
Always overthinking. Like, am I doing enough? Did I not post that right? Is this stupid? Is my message right? And I'm always worried about it. And I think if I'm like psychoanalyzing, it's probably because I'm too worried about what people think, quite frankly.
I think that's in everyone.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I think I take on this platform and the show and my part on it as like a huge responsibility. Like there's such a huge following, and we're so fortunate to have an influence on people. And so I want the messages I put out there to be of me and like not, I don't know. It's a responsibility, I think. And also, I give a fuck what people think about me.
I think we all do to some capacity. We're trying our best out here. All right, let's talk about I think I don't want to dive into the drama of what you have experienced from a relationship perspective, but I do want to dive into the analysis of how that's impacted you and things you've done to overcome it. Because I think people back home, they could be in any profession, teacher, nurse, professor, salesperson, whatever they do. They have things that come up in their personal life. And some people think those things actually propel them, and some people get completely taken aback. And so it impacts their financial and professional life. Those are the pillars I want to stay on because I think everyone listening at this point probably understands from a relationship perspective, in a tragedy, big tragedy with your brother, that you've had personal setbacks. Let's talk about how it's impacted professional and financial. Olivia, what are some things that, when you think about it, you had to overcome, or did you use work as an outlet? And do you have any advice for anybody back home that feels stuck, but still has to pursue their professional and financial endeavors?
That's a very good question.
I'll take it.
For me, I certainly used it as an outlet of distraction. The show,
Mhm.
I was very, and my dad, he's a businessman, so we had conversations and about it because my number one priority was making sure they were comfortable with it, with me like going back to work so soon. But I don't, I mean, just whatever works for you,
Yeah.
like for me at that time, it was helpful, like keeping busy, but also being patient with your emotions. And, like some days are going to be harder when you're at work than others, but just like be patient with that and don't, because the more you allow yourself to feel the emotions, the more you can create room for yourself to like live your life also, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. I don't know if I'm answering the question very well. Like give me an example of like it affecting your
Yeah,
life.
for
Like,
sure. So I think for me, through a recent breakup,
yeah.
I use work as a form of like numbing, if I'm being honest, but it's productive numbing.
Mhm.
So I use it as a means of like, I don't have to deal with, I first think, let's just first step back. What you said is right on about like, step into your feelings, feel your feelings. I think I just put a post about this, like name it to drain it. And then once you do, you carry so much less weight in all areas of your life. What I have found myself doing is opposed to, I'm like a path of least resistant guy. So like conflict, I don't really love it. I'd rather just, to me, like the drama of conflict can create a lot of like headaches and step backs, even though those step backs could create 8 jumps forward. So I channel my energy towards like work. I distract myself. Something I'm working on, but I know if I distract myself, I don't have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
As a result of that, weirdly enough, setbacks actually propel my financial and professional world. They probably hurt me more personally,
Mm-hmm.
but they propel them. And I'm wondering if through your setbacks, if you think that they have like propelled them, maybe hasn't had an impact on your professional world, or you feel like because you experience pain and emotion and distress in your personal life, it really hurts your professional financial life.
I think for me, it brought I was overwhelmed with how many people reached out and had like very similar experiences. So I felt in that moment that I had, and that's kind of like going back to how I overthink with social media. Like once all these people started reaching out and talking about their experiences with grief and having all very, very similar stories, losing a sibling, losing a loved one, it was like it fueled me because I now had the ears of so many people who were going through what I was going through.
Yeah.
And so that terrified me on social media.
Yeah.
And that was a bit of a setback. I mean, it took me a really long time to post. Even though those messages were so heartwarming, I was like terrified to post.
Yeah.
But then I had the show side of it, and I looked at it as an opportunity of getting to be an example in a sense, not be an example, but like show people that it's okay to feel a certain way, or show people that you can go back to work, or you can be sad, like so I feel like it did propel me, but in a way that was helpful to others, if that makes sense.
I think so. Yeah. No, I think it's like impact.
I'm like, whew.
Yeah, she nailed it. I think it's like, I think it's great.
Yeah, it's an impact. And personal life was, struggle, like worst time of my life. Professional, a whole new responsibility and a whole new challenge, but in a good way.
From the outside looking in, it feels like, your personal life may have been in complete disarray. I don't know. From what I'm seeing from the outside, high level, it seems like professional and financial world's taken off. It feels like maybe professional setbacks may have actually propelled your professional world. Knowing what you know now about everything you've experienced in the last year, we'll just keep that high level there. Is there anything you would have done differently that maybe people back home listening that are kind of going through hell could take as a learning lesson given your experience? Is there anything you would have done differently in the last year?
I don't know if this is too deep, but I'm a huge advocate for therapy.
Yeah.
And I didn't go to therapy when all this happened. And that was a big mistake.
What was your hesitation not to go?
I think I just wasn't ready to face it and like have it be more of a reality. And I already was starting to have the episodes air, and then once the episode air of what happened, that opens a door to so many other people getting to chime in that I wasn't ready for. So then to think about talking about it more on a person, I just wasn't ready to do that. I wasn't ready to have it being discussed. And at least with therapy, I had the choice to wait, whereas on the show front, I didn't have a choice. It was going to air and I was going to have to deal with it. Yeah. So I put it off. I put therapy off and I dealt with it on the show. Okay. Now you're an advocate for therapy. What would you say for people that are thinking about it back home? Do you have one big takeaway? Big takeaway guy, by the way. Yeah. From all the therapy you've done, do you have one big takeaway, one thing that has resonated with you the most through going through therapy and putting yourself in that position? One big takeaway from therapy. Be patient with yourself and with your emotions. That's a good one. Because there's no right way to grieve. Yeah. There is no right way. In anything, in a breakup, 100%. In a death, there's no right way. It's just what works for you and to be patient with yourself. Yeah. That's a really good one. I always thought you go through that grieving stage and you check the box like it's a homework assignment. No, that's not the case whatsoever. Be patient, give yourself grieving, and everyone's going to have their own process. Let's talk about this. My next book that comes out is all about love and money. So in relationships, when it comes to money, this is like dating and money advice. It comes to splitting bills, joint accounts. When you think about some of your past relationships, do you have any love and money rules? Do you talk openly about what you guys make? Do you share things financially? Do you just keep it compartmentalized? Do you have any love and money rules? Love and money rules. I feel like because I'm kind of new to both right now. Fair. I don't know, all my friends and stuff that are getting married and dealing with that now, I'm kind of asking them these questions. Yeah. And I like the split, you do your own thing. Yeah. I you make your money, you make yours, and that's yours. And if I don't know, that makes sense to me. That structure works in my brain. You do your own thing, you make your own money, and then you just kind of communicate throughout, toss them in the savings checking. I don't know. There you go. No, I think what you're saying is good. Have your own careers, make your own money, put it together for activities and do your thing. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. I think that's a good take. Okay. I think that's a good take. I think you nailed that one. Do you, amongst your friends or even past relationships, do you openly talk about money, or is it something you're not really comfortable talking about? I think growing up in the South and a little bit not in the South, it's like that. It's you're not supposed to at all. Yeah, exactly. So I have a little bit of that there in me, but the older I get, I guess I don't really see the reason you wouldn't, you know? Yeah. I grew up thinking you shouldn't, but I think it's an okay topic, especially with people you're comfortable with. And I do think it can like get awkward because if you don't have those communication or if you don't have those conversations, and that's when things happen. Like you go on big trips, and like I remember living in LA, and like we'd go to brunch, and I would order, I don't know, like a crouton and water, and then they would be like, "We're all just gonna split the bill," and it'd be like 150 each. I'd be like, I had a crouton and water. Like, so it's like, I don't know. I think you could be open in communication with like your friends in that sense, but
it is interesting. I think where you come from has a huge impact on it. Most people that come on the show don't want to talk about money.
I know, I'm sweating. Maybe I don't like it.
I think it's because one of these things, like we're taught not to talk about it. But I think the reason that we're taught not to talk about it is if we do talk about it, we're probably going to get like compensated more. Like you think about it. You just saw Shep, $25K. What does that make you think? Maybe I should be paid more. So I think the transparency
that's educational.
as consumers can help us, right? That's kind of my take on it. Okay. All right, let's do a little money rapid fire. It's just fun things about your personal life. Like what is one thing you spend too much money on, but you'll never stop spending that money on?
Probably like dinners, like going out.
Okay,
like so I love like the dinners, restaurant scene, going out. Yeah. Okay,
number one type of food. Where are you going? What type of food?
Sushi.
All right. Do you create a budget at all for yourself, or how do you? What's your system for managing?
My system is I get a text from my dad yelling at me, and then I got to figure it out.
Fair enough. How do you respond to that?
Sorry, won't happen again.
All right. What was in your professional career when you think about a financial moment? What was like your biggest high financially?
I gotta say, this is gonna be weird because it's like the least amount of money I made, but like getting my first check as a production assistant because I loved what I was doing so much. And so to like realize I almost forgot I was supposed to be getting paid. So like just even getting that first check, I remember going in at like the ass crack of dawn to go pick it up. And I remember just being giddy in my car.
How much was that check for?
I think it was like, I don't know, like a little over 200.
Did you spend it or save it?
Oh, I probably spent it.
All right, there we go. I love the honesty. All right, one financial low in your entire professional journey. Financial low that you're like, that was a tough moment, or I shouldn't have done that, or maybe an investment you might have lost on or something.
Probably when the taxes got taken out of my first paycheck after BravoCon.
I think that's a good point. Yeah. Well, in this space too, if you don't plan for your taxes, you can get in.
Yep.
I mean, it could get ugly quick.
Honestly, stay tuned because I'm sure it's coming.
Stay tuned. Yeah. All right. And then the last one before I get your trading secret will be, do you have a financial goal, a certain amount that you want to, let's say, at one point in your life make, or I don't know, do you have any type of financial aspiration, dream, or goal that you can think of?
I mean, I'm learning like how important savings is, and then just like seeing that we live in a day and age where people kind of like go from paycheck to paycheck, and seeing it's getting harder and harder for people to like even just like buy something. Everyone's like renting, you know what I mean? Like I would love to be in a place where I felt comfortable like buying, like saving, just, I don't know. It's so easy to like get your check and then just like go through it. But just, I don't know. I'm so bad at these questions.
No, I think you're doing great. All right, I'm following. You're crushing it. I think you're crushing it. All right, and let's say this. If you want to buy something, suppose it's a home, where's the first city you're going to buy the home?
Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. That's number one on your list.
I think so.
All right, last one. Branding. This is your forte. You've done this so well in the last 2 years by branding yourself.
Thank you.
You've done an amazing job. If someone back home has no idea where to even start with branding, they have no idea, what piece of advice would you give them with branding?
Just find your passion, find what you're interested in, because like any job, you're only going to do well with something that you love.
Yeah.
And so get clear on that first, and then the rest, not to sound corny, will fall into place, but it really will, because anything that comes at you, you're going to be excited to take on the challenge and to move forward with that part of you and to like create a brand. You have to love it. You have to want it to be an extension of you, and you have to learn it inside and out in order to do that.
Yeah, totally. And I don't know if you give yourself enough credit for this, but so many people go through life just doing what they're told down the road they're supposed to. And what you did from the get-go was like, this is what I want to do. I'm going for it. You went to LA, you went to Atlanta, you went back to LA. I think people back home should think through that as like, you said passion. And if one thing to say it, it's another thing to do it. And this life is so short, and so many people go through their entire career just floating by, never taking a shot at their dream. And you've done that since day one of graduating, which I think is awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think like I was really excited to take that on into Charm, because especially being in the South, there's such a societal expectation to like go to college, like get a job, get married, have kids.
Yeah.
And I was so blessed to have parents who like didn't force that on me at all. They wanted me to find my passion before they wanted me to find like my person. There was no pressure whatsoever. It was just like, find what you love. So that's like bringing back to that a lot of that goes to my parents, and just like stepping out of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And in order to get the bigger picture, and it doesn't have to be anyone else's picture. It's what you want your picture to be.
I love that. You're a trailblazer right now, especially for the girls in the South. Crush it, get through adversity, use the adversity to propel you forward, learn from it, step into therapy. So many lessons, so many pieces of advice. But we have to end with a trading secret. Trading secret we can only get from Olivia Flowers. Can't get in a textbook, can't get in a YouTube or TikTok tutorial. It could be about anything: life, career, relationship, money, whatever you want it to be. It's the trading secret only from Olivia Flowers. What can you leave us with? We can also edit the pause out here, so you take your time on this one.
Like, how much time do we have?
Take your time.
I feel like all mine are so surface level at the moment. Like, I don't know, you kind of touched on it already. Like, don't settle in anything, in a person, in a job, in a life. Don't settle.
Okay. And for some, I'm gonna push you a little bit.
Okay.
Someone that is settling, what do? They find themselves settling.
You find happiness in yourself first. So there's zero dependency on anyone or anything else for that. You have everything you need in yourself. You're complete. So everything after that is a bonus, an addition. There's zero dependency.
That is the mic drop right there. That way you crush that. And I think when you find it within yourself, you start to tell yourself you don't deserve that. You won't settle professionally, financially, or personally. Olivia, thank you so much for being on Trading Secrets.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people find everything you have going on?
Instagram.
What's your handle?
Olivia B. Flowers.
Okay.
I had to make, I'm like,
TikTok too?
Oh, I'm new to TikTok, but Olivia B. Flowers for TikTok as well. But be patient with me. I'm like,
and this is coming out Monday. Is there anything you could tease for us? Things that we should look forward to on Southern Charm the rest of the season?
We are in Jamaica on Southern Charm right now, and that trip gets a little crazy. So
more fireworks to come?
More fireworks to come.
Lot of action. Stay tuned to Southern Charm. Make sure to go follow Olivia B. Flowers on all social media. And Olivia, thank you for coming on Trading Secrets.
Thank you for having me.